friends there, Marcy.
Yeah.
It's 9 o'clock, I'll call the meeting to order.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I take a motion to approve of the agenda. Okay, got a motion on the floor. Need a second? A second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Nay. Motion passed. I'm going to convene as the Walworth County Planning and Zoning Board. Discussion regarding the plat. I might have said that right.
Yeah, Pyatt is right. Can you grab Deb too, please? Greg? Or on Pyatt's plat?
Yes.
I received a letter from John Von Wald regarding the plat that we approved. What was the date on that, Greg?
October 17th, I think, or October.
And the plat is within
3-mile radius.
City of Mobridge, and it looks like we should have had the City of Mobridge approve the plat rather than the county approve the plat.
It was
Is what?
the first plat we had that was in the 3-mile radius right after the new ordinances. So we weren't really sure. They sent it to us, we sent it back to them, and then finally ended up doing it. But Mobridge should have signed it as well.
Okay.
City of Mobridge.
And so what basically should have happened is Mobridge should have been the last signer, right? And the county would not have had to sign.
Correct.
So that's what he's recommending, that we rescind ours and ask the, whoever did the plat to redo the last page that would have City of Mobridge's signature on it rather than ours, so.
Okay, I'll need a motion for that. To rescind that.
I so
Okay, got a motion on the floor. I need a second. Need a second. Any more discussion on that?
Jeannie, who is the recommendation from?
John Von Wall.
John Von Wall.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed. Is there any old business? New business?
Hearing none, move for adjournment.
Okay, got a motion on the floor. I need a second. Got a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed. I want to convene as the Walworth County Board of Zoning Adjustment. Is there any old business?
So with that, Jamie, do we need to change any of our ordinances that are?
Any other old business? New business?
Hearing none, move for adjournment.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor. I need a second. My second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed say nay. Motion passed. I'm going to convene as a Board of County Commissioners. Public forum. I guess I didn't see that list. Carolyn?
Yes. I just want to address Mr. Schilling and the rest of the commissioners. Mr. Schilling called me after that last meeting, and I'm not sure if it was just to tell me what a fool I was making of myself or what, but I did record the conversation on my recorder at home. And so if anybody needs to listen to it, it's fine with me. It doesn't matter.
Well, I don't care.
So, no, it doesn't matter to me either, so I just wanted everybody to know.
Anybody else? We move on, Linda Beeman.
Morning. What is South Dakota's open meetings law? South Dakota's open meetings law embodies the principle that the public is entitled to the greatest possible information about public affairs and is intended to encourage public participation in government. The open meetings law is there so we have transparency to know exactly what goes on when public officials transact public business, and that business is conducted in the open meeting, which our commission board, in my opinion, has failed to do so on several occasions. A read of the minutes or by watching the video would be very informative. Commissioners should be accountable for the decisions they make on behalf of the taxpayers of this county and be willing to discuss them in an open meeting while they are happening and not after the fact. By not allowing participation during the agenda items, the board is shutting the people out. The auditor has said she only puts items on the agenda that the chairperson tells her to. The chairperson told Commissioner Houck his item was not added to the agenda at the last meeting as it was a law. I would like clarification on that law. The board can add and delete agenda items at the beginning of the meeting, so how can the chairperson control the agenda before the board is even called to order? The chairperson may have latitude in how the meeting itself is conducted, but my question would be, why would the chairperson not want public participation on agenda items that are county business and that affect the taxpayers that elected them? Discussion of an agenda item, whether pro or con, should, in my opinion, be of interest to the commissioners on how their constituents feel about an item before them. After a motion is made and having acquired a second, the chairperson asks for any further discussion on the matter at this time. In my opinion, it is not an open and transparent board if this doesn't happen. This would also include items on the agenda listed as a discussion-only item. Why not have input from the public before you bring it for a vote at another meeting? The only option left for the public is to come to the next meeting during public forum and voice their frustration when an agenda item from a previous meeting has already been passed and it's too late to let the commissioners know your concerns or to be able to ask a question. I understand the fact that the public is given a time limit of 5 minutes to address the commission board during public forum. But how do you address an item on the agenda that hasn't even been discussed yet? I would hope that our commission board would welcome the opportunity to hear from the taxpayers in private or during the open meeting. After all, the public are the ones that provide the revenue to run this county. It is, in my opinion, that too many decisions are being made and discussed outside regular board meetings, and has forced me to come before you to address the process that has been used for these decisions. An example is the extended warranty with Butler. The Butler presentation was wonderful, but it did not address the fact that it was done outside a commission board meeting, and it did not address the fact that the auditor signed the extended warranty without authorization. And if authorization was given, it did not happen at a board meeting. My concern on this is the process that was used. The board has the option of using a special board meeting to handle such issues if it is needed to be done before the next meeting. They chose not to use this option, but have done so in the past on other issues. County business is to be conducted during a commission meeting. As far as the county assistant, I may have concerns or questions about the board hiring a county assistant, but I have to address it now. But because I have to address it now, it's quite difficult to guess what the discussion will include. This just proves the point I've been trying to make. Public forum is good if you have concerns for items that are not on the agenda, but how do you address concerns about an agenda item when the discussion hasn't even happened yet? I'm not a mind reader. I guess the good news today is that it's just a discussion regarding county assistant and not an agenda item that says consider motion to hire. I would hope this discussion will include the 2019 budget as far as where is the money coming from to pay for this. Thank you. Do you have any questions for me at this time?
Jamie, is there anything you wanna comment on that?
Not really. Do you have a question for me, or?
Do we gotta really go over the process totally again on exactly how it is done?
Well, basically, after I called Pierre and found out that, first of all, there is no law that controls operation meetings. We recommended that we follow Robert's Rules of Order several years ago. Robert's Rules of Order states that a chair can control the agenda. Again, it's, that's what our policy has been. And then, as Mrs. Beeman said, that if the chair refuses to put something on the agenda, then one of the commissioners can motion and second to bring something on the agenda. The issue of that, again, goes back to what I've been saying over the last 4 meetings. When you deny the public the right to address the commission, this is what we have. And that's it.
Anybody have any questions? Here none, we'll move on to 16. Consider motion to approve county commission minutes as of May 21st, 2019.
So moved.
I got a motion on the floor, I need a second. Got a second. Any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed. Need a motion to approve county commission minutes of May 23rd, 2019. Okay, got a motion on the floor, need a second? Got a second, any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed. Need a motion to approve claims we paid as presented. Everybody had a chance to go over them?
I so move.
Okay, got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
A second.
And a second. Any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed. Well, number 19, she's not here yet, so I guess we'll just go to 20.
Deb? Deb?
We need Nyla there.
Oh,
Nyla, we're gonna go to you.
never mind Deb. This is Nyla's.
Good morning.
Morning.
I received a call last week from one of our taxpayers who is on a payment plan. His property that he lives in had the misfortune of a fire, and he'd like to make less payments and work on rebuilding his house. He is a couple months late on his payments at this time. He had been doing pretty good about making his payments, and I mentioned it to Scott, and so he called him also. I'm not sure if he told you anything different, or,
No, he just, I asked him to come to the meeting and
right?
he declined it. He said he pretty much said he didn't have time, but actually he just got involved in 2 properties.
Yep, the other property that he has is, I'm in the process of taking it for tax deed right now. In fact, I was gonna have the sheriff deliver the papers this week. So I was just kinda wondering, I think he moved over there. I'm not sure what his thoughts are on that.
He told me he was gonna bring over 500 today. And he said, that's all he said, is he said, talk to the commission, see if we can't work something out. Cause that's what he wants to do, is either tear it down or try to rebuild, but I guess the thing is, what do we wanna do? He's living in the house that
The one that we're gonna,
she has the paperwork on.
yeah.
Can you say the value that is owed on the one that's coming back?
Yeah. Yeah,
And that is $1,400 and some odd dollars
that's the one we're working on taking.
taking. The other one is 55,
Yep, 5,567.
that's the one that burned.
That's the
They had a
taxes
fire
that are
issue.
owed on it, including this year's taxes.
Is that one non-livable now, the one being fire?
Not from what I understand, you can't. Did you drive by it, maybe? What's your take on
I
it?
don't think it's livable.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, what, the house that you're looking at taking, the tax due on that is $1,400? Do we know what the value of the house is?
I do not have that information.
You wanna ask Deb?
Deb, could you come here, please?
I think so, yeah.
No, on this one, what's the value of the house that's on this one?
This is the one that burnt down. This is the garage has been converted into a quarter civil.
5,000.
One that burned?
No,
Now,
this
the
one.
one that burned, I had 68,000 on the building itself. Total with the land of 70,360.
The land value on the one that burnt down is $2,030. The land value on the one with just the garage converted was $1,440.
From the rear, I think that house still looks like a garage, but it's not, it's living quarters inside. I think they're living there now. I'm not positive on it.
I guess I need some direction from you guys, what you want me to do on each property.
That's all he asked me to do was just to bring it up. Like I said, he wants to work something out. He would like to keep that property. Like I said, he hadn't made up his mind when I talked to him if he was gonna rebuild or what he was gonna do, but we gotta decide what we're gonna do. Yes.
What is our legal process as far as, like the house that burnt down, if there's insurance proceeds, is there any avenue towards any of that?
We have, of course, the taxes never go away on the real estate unless we remove those taxes. Taxes are there. I don't know if there's insurance or not. On the second house, we actually take that on what, is it like officially Wednesday?
No, I sent out the official notices,
That
so
we're
it'll be
taking
60 days after that.
60 days after that, but, yeah, it's, kind of up to you guys, there is no, where we can get anything ahead of.
No lien process other than the taxation that they've got?
Yeah, taxes never go away on, it's the property, so.
What is his payment plan right now?
It's $250 a month. He paid $3,500 in October. So if he brings in the 500 today, like he had mentioned to Scott, he's going to, he would be current.
Is that $250 a month for both properties, or is that?
No, we only have the payment plan on the one property that burned. The other one does not have a payment plan.
Has he indicated he wants to put that on a payment plan, that one too? Evidently not, before.
When he was in here, he only asked for the one.
I didn't make it very clear that it was, the one that they're living in is the one that could be taken, you know.
I think his father lives in the one that,
They're both living in it now. Or he's living in there too now, I should say.
I guess I need some direction from you guys on which way to go with this.
Looks to me like it's a no-win situation either way.
So, have you reevaluated this after the fire?
No, because this is the effective value, my legal assessment date is November first of 2018. So I have to assess whatever was there November first of 18. In order to lower that or take some of that value away, that would have to come before you guys in the form of an abatement. I can't just, I could take it off for 2020, pay 21, but I can't do anything about 2019, pay 20. You guys can do something about 19, pay 20, I can't without your guidance.
It's just a thought. What if we would see if he'd pay the house off that we're going to take and lower the payment plan on the other?
it's totally up to you as a
I'm just
commissioner.
throwing that out there.
Totally up to you.
I wouldn't have a problem if you did that. And then we could possibly even put an abatement in to prorate it to when the fire was, so that would knock a little bit off of it.
Just change
The only other issue that you may have is with the city of Mulbridge, if that property just sits there with a half burnt up building and nothing is done, you may get some questions from the city of Mulbridge why property isn't being taken when nothing's being done somewhere down the road.
Or couldn't you just put something in there that states that you gotta do some X amount of months, otherwise?
Yes, but I think we'd want something a little bit more clear than that.
Okay.
As far as what is substantial work, substantial repairs, what's he going to do? You'd have to be really specific or you're gonna run into problems when it's something that's kind of arbitrary as far as work being completed.
But as long as he's making payments on that property, whether it's burned or not, that,
Then we're, as part of the agreement, the only problem is he's 2 months behind right now on his agreement.
He's already broke the agreement.
what's that?
He's broke the agreement.
That's correct.
I mean, basically what it boils down to is you could take both properties right now. If that's, I mean, it's in black and white, that's what it is. Am I correct, Jamie?
Correct.
But we gotta decide what we wanna do.
What if we give him 30 days to get the one property paid off and then make payments on the one that's burned down? If he doesn't have it paid off in 30 days, then we take both of them.
But it's like Jamie said too, though, what are we gonna put in there for a house sitting there burning?
We'll know whether it's gonna do anything in a month or not.
I think this fire just happened, didn't it?
It did. What, week and a half ago or something?
About that, yeah.
Or been that recent.
Oh, yes, it was very recent, just within the last 2 weeks.
He probably doesn't really know what he's gonna do yet.
Yes, Jim?
I would kind of maybe agree with Commissioner Holgard that just give them a deadline that you need to have Nyla go ahead and serve the converted garage into a residence and serve that whole thing. And then within 30 days, if it's not paid, we're just gonna continue to proceed like we are. And then it would be another 30 days, they actually give them another 30 days before we take the property. And then he can also then go on a reduced payment plan if he makes the payoff on the one that they wanna live in within 30 days. And then you can set the payment plan at a lesser amount if you want on that one. But that way you would not be stopped from doing anything.
So go ahead and serve the papers.
Yes, I would. I would still continue the process, give them 30 days to, actually, you're really gonna give them 60 days, because as soon as Nyla serves them, they have 60 days to pay it off in full. So, they can follow the procedure on that and do a reduced on the other one and treat them as two different properties.
Then just have him come back in
And have them come back in and sign a new agreement and put in there that,
Must be cleaned up.
well, I would just say the property, this agreement can be voided if the county feels that improvement to fixing or cleaning the property is not being made. That leaves the decision all on us then. We don't have any burden to meet or whatever, it's our opinion. Leave us in the driver's seat.
Remember, unless you abate those taxes for 19B21, they would be as high as they were this year. If you didn't abate like 6 months or half a year, or 5, you can abate by the day if you want, but you can abate 4 or 5 months or 5 or 6 months. That would lower his burden for 19B20. Otherwise, it will be the same as it was for 18B19, or similar. So he'll need to apply for that abatement.
Right.
And just one other thing, I would assume there was probably no insurance on the property, because that's why we're here. I think if there was going to be insurance proceeds paid, we would get ours right away. That's why, kind of to follow up on your question, I would assume there wasn't on the property, and that's why we're in the dilemma that we're in. Now that it's started on fire and burned, partially burned, but that's just an assumption.
Are you gonna write up a letter, Nyla, or Jamie gonna write up a letter to send him, just to tell him, or?
James gonna write up the letter.
That is correct. And now we'll go over it. So basically, you want us to give him, tell him he'll be served on the one legal, and he has to cure that problem as prescribed in her documents. It'll be served on them, and then he can, we do want to approve an amount now on the whole property.
I would guess he should come in and request that, shouldn't he?
Yes. And then he can request,
Because if he doesn't do the first one, the second one ain't gonna matter anyway.
correct,
Well, it's 2 separate properties.
I know, but
as far as the commission's view. So yeah, we'll take care of that. Then he needs to come in and suggest a payment plan on the property that's caught fire.
If we go ahead with this, and let's say he comes in and pays off this property that we're looking at taking, can we tie the other property that's burnt back to this property and take both?
No, they're two separate legals. We can only take the one that's burnt up. If he becomes current on the one property, then he's paid his taxes that are owed on that property, and we can't tie the two properties together. He would still have the delinquency on the other properties that were in the middle of negotiating a new deal since the wind burned.
So if he pays this property off, we have a tendency of getting the burnt property as a
Possibility.
as a cleanup process and not anything else.
That is a possibility. That's why I was a little leery on some of this. Because yeah, you could get it as a nuisance property. Or it could be a nuisance property once we take it. Kind of similar to the ones in Java that we have right now. But we're in very, very poor shape when we took them for delinquent taxes. And this one now, if he walks away, is going to be a nuisance property that I wish the city is going to get on the county about having there. Because basically when I drove by the garage is just a shell with a burnt car and everything in it, and the whole side of the house is pretty much burnt, so.
Okay, well, let's do it that way then. Thanks, Nyla.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, 21, consider motion to approve an abatement for record 5627.
Now you're up.
I have an abatement for record number 5627. This is a lady who applied in a timely fashion for the owner occupied, should have had it, did not. So I'm asking for the $255.55 of the taxes to be refunded or abated. Record number 5627. She applied for owner occupied in a timely manner. I did not apply it, so she should have had it, she did not. Just the amount. $255.55.
Okay, I'll need a motion for that.
I'll make that one.
Got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
I'll second.
Got a second. Any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Right.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passed. Number 22, consider motion to appoint veteran service officer and set the annual wage at $14,567.64.
Good morning.
Morning.
First off, commissioners, I'd like to say thank you for inviting me to be on this committee, which is quite an honor. After we screened all of the applicants we had, we came down to one viable applicant. You all have a copy of his application in front of you, except for his service career, which in my opinion, and the opinion of the committee, was stellar. Couple of things, he asked if he could start the 24th. He wants to renew his teaching certificates. He does still substitute in North Dakota and South Dakota. So he needs that 2 weeks to renew his certificates. Questions?
I don't have anybody have anything, Bob?
No, very good.
I would take a motion for that, Yes.
Should I state the name?
You would need a motion to hire Stephen Volk as the Walworth County Veteran Services Officer as a part-time position at the annual wage of what Commissioner Shannon already stated.
And in that motion, if we could state the hours and days. Currently, Will is 3 days a week, 9 to 2, is that correct?
That's what he wants to do, the same thing?
It's 15 hours a week. I think probably we should let him set his own days, as long as it's 15 hours a week.
I think is it veteran service hours in the handbook or not? We should probably do the motion to hire him in one motion, and then if you're going to, I would come back once he's started and then approve what his hours are gonna be. That way we can make sure we're on track with him, if that's all right. I would just do the motion right now to hire, have him start on the 24th, and then when he comes in, set then what his hours he's going to be able to work, rather than we set something and then he's like, oh, I can't do this day or whatever.
And the state has to approve this thing.
Correct. We would need a copy of today's meeting minutes for Leo to submit to the state, stating who we're hiring and what his salary would be, and number of hours per week.
All right, I'll take a motion for that, for hiring Stephen Volk.
I'll make that motion.
I got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
I'll second.
Got a second. Is there any other discussion?
Does that include the wage?
I said it right away. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passed.
One other note, I did speak with Mr. Rookie this morning, and he was asking what the commission would like him to do in the interim. Do you want him to stick around and start training this young man, or
Yes, I would think so.
I would hope so.
continue his pay?
I wouldn't know why we wouldn't, I guess. That'd be kind of foolish, we wouldn't.
Yeah. I got one other question.
Yes.
Do we need to send approved copy of the minutes? If that is the case, that'd be 2 weeks from now. To the state. Or,
Kevin Swanson out of here was here during the entire process. He is a Veterans Field Officer for the state, and he didn't say approved, he just said a copy of the meeting minutes. I can surely call him and ask him that question.
we wouldn't approve them until the 18th, would we?
The 18th is still prior to the start date, so.
That was just a question I had, I wondered about that.
I can certainly find out and give Davis a call. Or Scott, whichever.
I'd call Davis.
And I will get a hold of Leo and ask him to stay on in the interim. All right,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Number 23, consider motion to adopt resolution 2019-08, declaration of emergency disaster. Walworth County resolution for declaration of emergency disaster, resolution number 2019-08. Walworth County, South Dakota suffered issues from significant rainfall throughout May 21st, 2019 to the present day. Severe weather has caused Walworth County to expend considerable financial, material, and personal resources. Due to the severe weather and large amount of rainfall, Walworth County has had and will continue to have significant damage to the county landfill system, flooding, and other rainfall-related damages. Walworth County has exhausted its financial and material resources available in dealing with the weather-related problems Walworth County has faced. By the Walworth County Commission at a regular scheduled commission meeting held June 4th, 2019, that a declaration of emergency be declared, and also it is hereby requested that Governor Christie Nome declare the state of disaster exists in Walworth County, and that all state and federal agencies provide disaster relief as soon as possible. The date is 4th day, June 2019.
I move to approve the resolution.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor, I need a second. Got a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed. Twenty-four, discussion regarding county assistant.
Commission system. Everybody should have a copy of this. Hughes County, and a bunch of other counties that do have a commission assistant. Some counties, some of the larger counties do have county managers. I got a copy of the commission assistant job functions and duties from Hughes County that I kinda went off of to adopt a lot of the ones that are in here. And I took a couple off of the manager's position too and put in here. Without Ryan being here, Ryan did a tremendous amount of work for us. And took a lot of the duties, a lot of the research. And he did a lot of the research so we wouldn't have to turn this into a full-time job, being a commissioner. In my opinion, I think this would be a good, viable, new position. I think it should be a full-time position. If somebody's got a problem with what we put in here as essential functions, they can be changed. But I'd like to have you take a look at them, go over them. If you feel there's changes to be made, let me know or bring it up and we can talk about it more. I think we're definitely needing some help to get some of the information that we need from somebody else. This job would also entail a few other things, not just the county stuff, but you can read through it and see if you got anything else you want to add to it, changes to be made to it, or anything else.
Anybody got any questions on that? Should just go over it and look through it. See what you all think. You got any more to say about that, Kevin? Or?
No, just, in my mind, I think we definitely need somebody in this position.
Well, I guess I just think you should just take it home, look it over, see what you think, and bring it back up at the next meeting and go from there.
If you got any questions about it, give me a call.
Nobody has anything, we'll move on. Josh?
Not a discussion point, Mr. Chairman, but just short and sweet. The medical, all the billing, I'll be pulling back into my office. Brenda won't be doing it anymore. So I'll be taking over that function.
You're up anyhow.
Good morning.
It is.
Morning.
Pass these around, please. As you can see, I just got a couple things on the agenda. The handouts that I gave you guys is a quote from Hub City Roofing. They did the work on the courthouse for fixing the jail roof. And also the other handout that I gave you guys is just a copy of an email that I sent out to the commission on some options during that time and some research that I did. Just asking the individual that gave us the quote, it's also from Hub City, on why the rubber roof and whatnot. Commissioner Schlomer had already advised on that, on why the pebbling is used. I just researched that a little bit, and that is not questioning what he was talking about, but just at the request of the previous request of the chairman. So the basic reasoning for the pebbling is the holding of the roof down, the rubberized portion of it. It's done on several roofs. The difference between this roof and the jail roof, that's same type of material. This is secured different, it's screwed down and whatnot, so was the difference. Anyway, that's in the email, I sent that out to the commission, and the quote. The first item on the agenda is to surplus an HP printer fax, serial number C as in Charlie, N as in Nora, B as in boy, 7J1L1B Paul, P as in Paul, serial number. The fax machine no longer works, I've already replaced it. Just asking for a motion to surplus that and have the chairman sign.
I'll need a motion for that.
I so move.
I got a motion on the floor, I need a second. A second, any more discussion on that?
Is that for destruction then, or for surplus to sell it on auction?
It's not working, there's no value to it.
So, just display thing?
Correct.
Need a second? Get a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passed.
Okay, thank you. Second item is reference that Hub City quote for $12,450 with a 15-year warranty. That's an actual fix on the jail roof. That would be on the addition. There's no roof issue on the old portion. It's on the addition, as we're having the issues right now with all the rain we've been getting. It's been raining inside and leaking, so I got a quote from Hub City to see what it was going to cost us to do a proper fix on the roof, and that is what I got, in which I shared with the commission in an email, and also a copy shared with the chairman.
That's how I look at it, Josh. No matter what, it's gonna be $800 to $1,600 to temporary fix it anyhow, correct?
Correct.
And
There's 3 different areas of concern up there because there's 3 items that sit on that roof. So it's per per area, is my understanding. To do the three, you know, that many feet out from the roof mount heating unit and the vents.
So it could be 5,400. Or is that the total? The 8 to 1,600.
Per item. That's flashing out and fixing in those generalized three areas, so
It could be 4,800.
roughly. Like I said, the other quote that for full fix replacement, he said it's pulling away from the areas of the where it comes up against the walls, pulling away and stuff up there. So the full fix was $12,450 with a 15-year warranty.
I guess you think you're taking that's $800 to $1,600 for each one? Then I'm looking at it wrong. Marion, do you think that's what it is?
I guess that was, the way I read that, it was 3 to 4 foot around each unit located on the roof, and the cost would be $800 to $1,600. I take that as a total, but
I can imagine that it would almost be almost half of what the actual cost would be to replace it. You know?
yeah, I didn't read it that way when I read that the first time.
How the rest of you take it?
That's kind of what I thought, $1,600
With the
patch.
total.
Yeah,
That's a total.
but I don't know that for sure, I did not talk to him.
Get them on the phone. I gotta sell them.
It just seems a little high to be per spot.
But, well, like I said, if worst case scenario being if that were that per item, those three locations on there, that very well could be, I could have wrote the email incorrectly. I don't.
But that wouldn't be a fix. Very
No,
well.
that's a temporary thing.
And they're not even available to do a roof until what, September?
Correct.
I mean, no matter what we do, I mean, it's gotta be a temporary fix of some sort.
What do they do?
Hello.
Temporary fix to the treatment?
I got them on the phone, I'll put them on speaker for you the last one.
They did some stuff on Friday.
Okay.
They were here Friday. I wasn't here, I was out on a call, so I wasn't here to crawl up on the roof with them, but
They did do some work on that.
yes.
Say, Jerry, can you hear us?
Yep.
How was that kind of your quote to do some temporary patching or something? Is it 8 to 1,600? Is that for all of them, or is that per patch?
And gave you a quote for 1,600 new repairs.
8 to 1,600,
That was
temporary.
Jerry, it was
No. That was if we were just gonna redo that unit and the other unit. These repairs, I'm not charging you for. We're just making repairs for you just to get you through to do till we can get to it. There's not gonna be any charge for these repairs.
Good.
See, because we're not doing any, those other ones would have been more, that would have been a permanent repair. What we're doing now is just making sure it doesn't leak until we get to you. And those I'm not gonna charge for.
What are you really finding what's wrong with the roof, I guess, since we got you on the phone?
Okay, I'm not in the office, I'm actually up on Simmons Middle School here in Oregon, but a couple of the walls are pulling off the wall. It would need to be reflashed. Actually, I'm shooting from memory here, like a little over 100 feet. I think a couple of, like the bigger unit, and I think one of the smaller vents needs to be reflashed. I think that's what it was, if I recall. But if you go up there and you see where the rubber's not tight to the walls, it's kind of loose. That's not good. Those would have to be all cut and redone. That's why I said with the amount of repairs that you actually needed, just made more sense to do a new roof.
Okay, does anybody else have a question for him? Well, thank you.
Yeah, you let me know if you have anything else, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Jerry.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, I mean, I know we're still talking about the jail.
My opinion is, before we got, budget coming up here in a little over a month. My opinion, we need to make a decision of what we're gonna do with this jail before we do the budget. How much, are we gonna remodel this one? Are we gonna tear this one down? Are we gonna build a new one? Let's make a decision before budget time so we can start having a plan. How much money are we gonna stick into this one when we don't know what we're gonna do with it? Let's set a date.
Fair enough.
Let's set a date on one of our meetings coming up and decide whether we're gonna remodel this one, build a new one, or what we're gonna do before we start sticking another 12,000 into the roof of this one. Let's have an answer for once and for all. Then we can start moving the money where we need to. Come budget time.
What's the rest of the commission feel?
Josh, if we don't approve this today, is that gonna push back the date when they would be coming to fix it?
Well, I acted upon myself, so because it's already pushed out to September. So I secured that date for right now. You guys can stop that at any time, obviously, but I didn't want that date going by and having to push it out all of a sudden. We decide after budget that we're gonna do maintenance only on, or whatever the decision's gonna be. I have that date and they can still fix the roof. You know, in our previous plans, it's my discussion with Scott, you know, even if there's an addition put on, if that's the actual decision made, and we still don't know that yet, but we're talking about still keeping that portion of the building where we're fixing the roof, which was my discussion with the chairman. So I mean, if we're still gonna, you know, hindsight being 20/20, if we're still have that thought process yet, Mr. Hope, why, you know, we should be looking at fixing and keeping that from deteriorating anymore, if we're gonna utilize that portion of the building. But that was my discussion with the chairman. So I mean, I know that's not the answer we're looking for, and I know what you're, Mr. Hogarth's saying. I wanna know too, but I gotta make sure it's not raining in and causing a bunch of other issues running through my fixture, getting into the electrical and stuff like that. So, the last big rain that we had, there was 2 new spots where it started leaking, you know, and we never had leakage into the visitation area. And there's a mechanical room that's out of that area, and where's all the electrical part, you know, panels and stuff are. So, if we are going to still, again, part of the idea or the decision, still hang on to that portion of the building, we're gonna have to put, you know, fix that roof anyway, to a point.
But if and that would, the plan that I have, that portion truthfully would have a new roof on it, the old new part, that would have a roof over top of it.
Correct, and you were talking about, peaking it, not
Right.
having a flat roof, so. Does that
I
answer
guess-
your question, Mr. Howard?
I guess if we've got the date secured, I mean, I don't know why would we really want to act on it? I mean, it's the date is, he's got the date.
That's what I was wondering, do we have that
If
date
he's got the
secured?
date, I don't know why we need to truthfully act on it.
September's pretty decent weather usually, can be yet, we can, October, you're looking at, you know, that can be, do everything in October.
So, I mean, you answered Kevin's question there, and he's right. I wouldn't know why the guy, cause he did it in about 3 weeks, I don't know why he couldn't have my answers to me before the July meeting. And that, one way we can have a decision to make however we wanna go forward.
You're talking the building and the schematic that he's working on. And that's, I just need the, you know, a decision from you guys, but there is a tentative date of September start date for this one. But like I said, I wanted to secure that, you guys can stop it at any point. But if we decide to, that whatever's gonna happen, and we're gonna just do maintenance, then that's what we do. If there's, tear the old down, keep the addition, and put an addition onto that, that's your decision. But like Kevin said, we do need to make a decision on it.
So what do you guys feel, do we just leave it just the way it is right now?
What day you wanna set for, make a decision?
July meeting?
July 2nd?
I don't know what day, I can't see it.
First Tuesday in July would be the 2nd. Is that gonna interfere with the holiday, or are we still doing meeting on the 2nd?
16th is the next one.
When do we have to have the first budget put in by?
In July.
We could pretty much have to do the first meeting. Approve the budget, make any final changes on the second meeting.
Previous years, you've had like a special meeting to discuss the budget. It's up to you.
I say we put it for July 2nd, make a decision of what we're gonna do with this.
All right. Anything else, Josh?
No.
All right, thank you.
Jim, you agree with that, or
We tried to.
Davis?
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
The Highway Department.
You agree?
Oh, absolutely, if we gotta do something one way or another, we're gonna do it,
Okay, let's go to the Highway Department. Consider motion to hire Gary Byer as Highway Superintendent and set the wage at $65,000.
I so move.
Okay, got a motion on the floor and a second.
I'll second that.
Got a second, any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I guess I have, all the confidence in the world of Gary Byrie as highway superintendent. I guess I'm questioning where the 65,000 come from.
Who set that wage?
We kinda discussed that the other day, and in our meeting, I stated, I thought his experience was sure worth $10,000 more than the previous one with no experience, and didn't seem to be any opposition in that meeting to that, or anybody said anything, so I asked him if he would do it for that. When I was visiting with him.
I mean, you look at all the surrounding counties around us, and based on that wage, we're gonna be almost $20,000 higher than anybody around us.
In my mind, I think Gary is worth $10,000 more than a highway superintendent with zero experience. And our roads are in tough shape. We need someone that knows what needs to be done and can sort of say, hit the ground running.
You made the motion to switch, previous highway superintendent to 38, so does that mean that Gary should be at 48 then?
He was at, you guys approved 55,000 for Blake.
We did.
Previous highway superintendent with no experience. And I'm saying is Gary has got a lifetime of experience, and that should be worth, in my mind, at least $10,000 more.
Like I said, I have nothing against Gary Byard. I know he will do a great job. I just find it hard to believe that we're going to jump that kind of money when everybody around us in local counties around us are anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000 less.
Are you saying then we offered our last one too much money too?
No, I'm not saying that at all.
Mr. Chairman, do I have a right to speak on the issue?
Yeah, you may.
Pardon?
Yeah, you may.
You know, you guys have been discussing superintendents. You've been talking about Bill Doppers. Bill had Gary for a trainee. Bill was the best that we've ever had. He moved more dirt than we've got. He had a lot of experience, and Gary was a super employee. And I think that you gotta forget about these other counties. We got a rail center here bringing in a lot of trucks. A lot of counties don't have that. We do. We got a problem. We need somebody that can do it. And I personally think Gary would be a very good person.
Thank you. I guess I'm gonna say the same thing. I think there's no question about it. Gary Byard would be the person for the job. I just think the wage could just be a little high. Like I told you previously on the phone, Jim.
But we've got shoulders that have to be full. These roads are going to hell. And if you don't get somebody in there that understands it, we got a big wreck coming. These trucks are pushing these roads out. That may be a lot of money in some thinking, but you stop and think of what it costs to rebuild a road, it's a whole bunch more.
Kevin?
I was just curious too, who set that?
That's what we talked about in our meeting the other day.
What was it advertised
I don't know if it was advertised, the dollar amount, but after we discussed or interviewed the applicants the other day, that's what I mentioned, I thought he was probably worth $10,000 more than we give the last one because of his experience, and no one said any opposition to it or anything, so I just assumed that was all right to ask him if I didn't know at that time if he would take it. As I told you downstairs afterwards, I would talk to him and see if he would even take that. Because that's not what he had on his application.
No, but that was for two different jobs though too.
Yes.
I agree Gary's by far the best choice that we got.
Probably won't take a long time to save that $10,000 by having somebody that knows something.
No, I
Doesn't
agree.
make mistakes.
I got a motion on the floor and a second. Any other discussion on this?
I would request a roll call vote.
Okay.
Would there be a starting date in this motion?
When did he tell you that he could start it?
What's that?
When was the starting date on this?
I visited with him yesterday and he said he would, if we approve this, he would give his resignation Friday, 2-week notice to the other employer. He would do that Friday, so then 2 weeks after that, and then I would guess he would probably start the following Monday.
June 24th?
I'm guessing, I don't know that for sure, I did not ask him for sure. But David, he said if he got the job, he would be in contact with the highway department immediately. And try to get up to speed on a lot of things that are going on.
Mr. Chairman? Yes.
I'm gonna make another motion to, set his salary at 60,000.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor. Need a second? Pardon me?
I can't make it now, but, there's a motion, any discussion.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Marion, was that a motion to amend his motion or a new motion in the middle of a vote of a motion?
Motion to amend, put it at 60,000 instead of 65.
Okay.
65.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor, I need a second. The motion was 60,000. I need a second. Motion denied.
Vote on your original motion.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor of 65,000 and a second. Any other discussion again? Roll call, Jim,
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Marion,
No.
Scott, you didn't vote, I'm wondering how.
I can vote. I can vote.
You didn't vote.
I know, I'm sitting here yet.
Pardon?
I'm a yes. No, I was gonna vote, Dean. Motion passed. Consider motion to sign striping agreement with SD DOT. What's that? Read everything?
No.
That's the one that we do every year.
Yeah. I need a motion for that, just the striping agreement.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
I'll second that.
Need a second, any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Alright.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passed. Consider motion to set the wages for Gerald Masters and Gerald Fiedler. Marty talked to me a little bit about it. He just said that Gerald Fiedler wasn't happy with his wage. I think these figures are the right ones. Gerald was at $12.73. That's right. And Gerald Costers was at $15.18.
Why was Gerald Fiedler so much cheaper?
I have no idea. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. I mean, we gotta make a decision what you wanna do.
Is it Gerald Fiedler that is not happy with his, or Gerald Fiedler that
Yeah.
requested this, or Gerald?
Yeah, it's all Marty said.
There's a wage difference depending on longevity. I don't
Well,
know.
no, we're part-time.
So I guess
We'll get longevity.
longevity wouldn't matter.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I believe it might have something to do with classification. Gerald Costers, well, he is allowed more hours every year, and he also receives vacation, sick leave, and retirement. Gerald Fiedler does not receive any of that, because Gerald Costers is full-time, part-time classification, and Gerald Fiedler is just part-time classification. I believe Gerald Fiedler can get up to 1,100 hours, and Gerald Costers is 1,400.
My question is, why wouldn't they be both at the same time, or at the same wage if Gerald Costers is getting more benefits?
What do you wanna do? I mean, you want to put them both the same? Both be the same.
To tell you the truth, I would like to have our highway superintendent review this. I don't know if they would wait that long, or.
Yes, can, because you can just always go back. Just tell Marty, tell him that Gary can do it. Is that fair enough?
I would like to see, because he'll know a whole lot more, and he knows a whole lot more about the situation than we do.
Okay, then just have Gary do it. Just tell Marty, tell him, talk to him, just say, well, whatever Gary does, we'll just
Yeah.
make it up. Right? All right, Lyle.
I think I've got Greg setting up the projector for me.
Okay, Lyle.
Ready? Okay. I'm Lyle Perman from Lowry. I do some public speaking about water and how land use impacts it. So I'm going to give a short presentation about land use, and the watershed that I'm going to talk about is the one that we're in, which is the Swan Creek watershed. Jim is well familiar with it because he ranches in it and is impacted by it also. But the same principles apply to every watershed across the world, basically. So land use impacts it. The U.S. Geological Survey says the watershed that we're in, which is the Swan Creek watershed, is 368,842 acres. And I tell people it's an easy number to remember because 369 is just about 369,000 acres. Of that, about 40% is cropland and 60% is grassland. What you're gonna find with cropland is the organic matter levels tend to be less, about 2%. So it's not uncommon to find farm ground that's, let's just say anywhere from 1.5% to 3.5%, and grassland that can even approach 8% organic matter. Well, every percent of organic matter level change impacts water holding capacity by about 25,000 gallons. So you start with, if you have 2% less organic matter on cropland than farmland, or than grassland, you got about 50,000 gallons more holding capacity with your native grasslands than you do with farm ground. In our watershed, because of the amount of land that's been converted for the last 125 years, we've got about 8 trillion gallons of water storage capacity that's been lost. Now, I'm not telling you, I'm not advocating a change in that, I'm just telling you here's where we are. And I'm not telling you that our family hasn't contributed to, because we have farmland, just like a lot of people do within our watershed. So here's where we're at here, and here's what has been happening. Now the numbers I'm showing you, cropland and grasslanders as of 2012. So those acres may have changed a little bit in the last 7 years, but that's where they were at as of 2012. In particular, I'm going to talk about the East Lowry Road, but I like to talk a little bit about Swan Lake, because Swan Lake it gives you an idea of also something that's contributing to our problem. First thing is, for every inch of water in Swan Lake, which is 2,665 acres, every inch is 72 million gallons. But anybody that swam in Swan Lake as a kid, like I did growing up, knew there's mud at the bottom. The question is, how much silt is in that lake? If there's 10 inches of silt in that lake, that's 720 million gallons of water holding capacity that's lost. If there's 20 inches, that's 1.4 trillion gallons that's been lost. And so my point in bringing this up is, the soil has lost the ability to hold water. The lake has lost its ability to hold water. So there's consequences. And those consequences are felt by anybody that's impacted by water in any watershed. And in particular, I'm going to talk about our watershed. If you look there on the right-hand side of the screen, you see a blue arrow. I'm going to show you some data from a quarter of land that we've got that I used from NRCS. This is a software program that NRCS has, and it's primarily designed for determining, is that watershed big enough to generate runoff for a dugout or a dam to capture it. So what this says, if you look, I've got it circled there, good grazing on 165 acres, circle that. If you look below it, it says 1.4%, that's the watershed slope. On those 165 acres, you can stand any place, anywhere, and you'll see a person. So you can go in one corner or the other corner or the middle, you're going to see someone. What it says on that storm number then, it says where the number 2 is, you look below it, a 24-hour rainfall event occurs every other year in 24 hours. What they're saying is every other year you can expect a 2.1-inch rainfall event. The amount of runoff, it says 0.09. That's in inches, the runoff in inches. 0.09. Peak discharge in cubic feet per second is 4. So it's just about non-existent. Now, what I want to show you is, here's what happens on the same piece of ground, same event with minimum tillage. Now you have to understand the software was created back before you had much, if any, data about no-till. But just look at what happens when you till that ground. Not heavy tillage, minimum tillage. Same rainfall event. It goes from 0.09 to 0.5. And then the peak discharge, that's the water running off. That's volume. It goes from 4 to 37, 9 times as much. So land use and how we're using the land impacts water. That's the message. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the area that we want to deal with. We start, there's Swan Lake, the water leaves the northwest corner of Swan Lake, travels up to section 4, then across to section 5, where the blue arrow is, that's where the damage is that I'm here to talk to you about today. The orange arrow is where the town of Lowry is, so Swan Creek goes through our hay ground, which is in the yellow, and continues on through the town of Lowry, goes through Akaska and to the river. Our water issues are nothing new, relatively new in terms of my lifetime. This was about 10 years ago when this occurred. This is 2 miles east of Lowry, you know, you can see what Swan Creek looks like there. But I wanted to show you this map. This is an aerial map from FSA. I figured it was in the 60s. And if you look at those squares and you see designs around there, lines, everybody had about 40 acres. Some people were lucky enough to have 60. But there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different landowners that at that point had cut their ground with a sickle mower, mowed it, dump raked it, bucked it up, and you can see the dots on there are the haystacks. Well, I can remember as a kid, that's what we did with that ground. This is what it tends to look like today. That picture I took 2 years ago, that picture at the same time, that picture is about 4 years ago. So this is what we're accustomed to seeing when we have a lot of water. This is what it looks like today. This video I took, let's see if we can get it. For some reason, I've got a video on here. Let's see if we can get it to go. There, I saw my arrow. Okay.
June 1st, 2019.
I actually want to turn the volume down. So this video I just took this week, and this is Swan Creek, about a mile west of Swan Lake. It's about a half-mile wide. What you're seeing is water that's probably at the deepest 2 feet, but it's about a half-mile across. Swan Creek, and right there's the damage. Swan Creek does not channelize until it gets about a mile and a half east of Lowry when there's enough slope. And then it narrows down to probably a couple of 100 feet, and by the time it gets to the town of Lowry, it's probably about 30 feet across. The culverts that you're going to see that handle it are right there, and they're 3 4-foot culverts. Now if you go to Hoven on Highway 20, west of Hoven, you'll see a huge box culvert. And north of Hoven on 47, you'll see even a bigger one. And so all that water comes into Swan Lake, plus some more tributaries that dump into the lake. And then we expect to handle it with 3 4-foot culverts once it leaves the lake. And it doesn't. And so, Penny is well familiar with this spot because it's not the first time that this has occurred. As a matter of fact, her and I talked about it the last time it happened. And I said, Penny, whatever you do, don't build this up. And they didn't. The county did not build it up. Thankfully, they didn't, because what happens when we build this back up to grade is it backs the water up. It's like a dam. It backs the water up and puts a lot of county road underwater back to the east. So what we need to do to fix this spot is we need to probably excavate it down a little bit and then fill it with oversize. I've spoken with Alan Frost, you know, and I took Marion down there and I showed him. You know, in a perfect world, we'd pay to have it concreted and drive through the water. But I'm not here to ask the county to spend that kind of money. What I'm here is to ask the county to put in some oversize. Alan and I met and looked at it, and he thinks he can take it down on your right-hand side, which is the east side. There, you can see that the grass is still intact there. What happened is it started to come over the road, and it just like a waterfall. And it started eroding it back to the east until it got to the sod on the east side, and there the erosion stopped. Right now, you can get through it with a car and a semi. If we get a half-inch of rain, we can't get through it with anything like that. You can with a tractor or a four-wheel drive pickup or an ATV. But Ellen and I looked at it, and you know, it's uncertain as to the exact amount, but he thought probably 250 ton, which should be about 5 semi-loads, or 10 semi-loads, would fix it. But, you know, we don't know that. The closest, I made some calls. Jensen's got a pit by Harriet. It's a 50-mile haul. Brownlee's got a pit by Hoban, which is about a 20-mile haul. That would probably be the cheapest option to go. Ellen is very capable of fixing this spot with oversize, because he's done it in other places on the east side of Swan Lake, and it's held fine. In a spring like this, it's held up good. His recommendation would be to probably excavate this down a little bit and then start backfilling and packing with oversize, and when you get enough oversize in it, then put some gravel on top of it. I know between here and the river that there are other places that either the county or individual landowners have got crossings made in Swan Creek. Most of the time, if they're successful, they're going to have a real good oversized base in it. So I'm here to ask you to authorize the county to spend the money that it takes to, let's try building this causeway up with oversize and keeping the level low enough so that it doesn't, when it starts going over this spillway here, that it doesn't flood or doesn't back water up on the road to the east. That would be my recommendation. And I don't know, you know, without a county highway superintendent, I don't know who you authorize to move forward on doing it. And it might be that it's, more than likely, it's not gonna happen until after Gary starts anyway. But I guess I'd like to see some authorization to have this fixed right rather than just putting gravel on.
So there's no culverts going through?
No, I'm standing about right on top of the culverts. Actually, it was well designed. Those culverts are well protected. It never goes over the road by the culverts. The culverts are probably, I'm gonna say 2 feet higher than if this was level right here going across. The culverts are probably 2 feet higher. They're well protected. If we do this the way I'm suggesting, it'll act like a dam. If you dam, it gets too much water coming into it, it goes over the spillway. But the trickle tube is running all the time. And so these 4-foot culverts, that we have the 3 of them there, act like trickle tubes. Right now they're running between 80 to 90% capacity, and are going to for quite a while. Because what's happened, the reason this vegetation has changed, yeah, we might be getting more water because of the lack of capacity, but we're also getting silt. And you get a lot of water in there. What ends up happening is that it forms a giant filter strip. And so any water that's coming through there that's got sediment in it, it filters it out. I'm not going to live long enough to see this, but there's going to come a day when Swan Lake will be a big slope because of the sediment that's in it. And this out here, what really got me started is on both sides of the road here is our hay ground. You cannot, the best tractor with the best suspension, you cannot go over 3.8 miles an hour. Trust me, I've tried it. Because it's so rough in there. And it's because of the silt that's being deposited. We go in there and you disc it up and you try and level it, make it really smooth, and 5 years later, you're back where you were. And so the vegetation has changed. That picture I showed you from the 60s was predominantly western wheatgrass that we cut down there. Occasionally there'd be some prairie cordgrass, which is a real water tolerant grass, grows up tall. Now there's none of that. That's all gone, and it's been displaced by Garrison creeping foxtail and Reed's canary, and if it's deep enough water, long enough, then we have cattails. And these, what you see there is Garrison creeping foxtail. That's more water tolerant than western wheatgrass, but not as water tolerant as cattails. And so if the water's standing there long enough, then we end up with nothing but cattails.
Well, did Alan have intentions of trying to do it with the water?
No, he said we gotta let it go down a little bit first. As soon as it's fit, he said then he would like the authorization to do what it takes to fix it. That's what he's looking for, some direction. And I don't know, you know, what we should do in terms of today, but I'd sure like to see this commission authorize somebody when the time comes to get in there with some equipment. And he told me just a payloader and, you know, a truck bringing the oversize in. It doesn't need to be stockpiled. He can deal with it as it comes in. And he said, I can fix that. And if somebody wants to go and see, I've driven through some of the areas that he's talking about north of Holden. Anybody that's driven in that area knows, Benny would know what I'm talking about. And he said they held up fine this spring. So I have no reason, he made those, I have no reason to believe that he does not know how to do it.
I'm sure it would work because Jim's got one and he drives across all the time.
Well, and here's the thing. 1 mile east of Lowry, the county's got one on a section line. We'll go back and we'll start driving it here shortly. It's got a culvert through it, and the water goes over the top of it, and we'll be driving across it before very long. Because the culvert's pretty small. I haven't tried recently, but the culvert's only one, and it's probably a 2-foot culvert.
Okay.
So, the reason I brought that first part up to tell you, this problem is not gonna go away. This was not just gonna happen this year and we can build it back up and forget about it. These problems with water are, the Lake Hiddenwood event that we had a year ago, yeah, this is big rainfall, no question about it. But if you think that our water problems are gonna be an anomaly that we're not gonna see anymore, I don't believe that. So I'd like to see the commission make a motion to do something or authorize somebody to do something to fix this. And maybe there doesn't need to be a motion, I don't know. But somebody needs to take some action so when the time comes, we do the right thing.
What's the commission feel like doing there? We know it needs to be fixed. Yes.
I guess being down there with Lyle and seeing how that whole thing works and with all the pictures and everything, this oversized rock idea, I think, looks like, it's by far the cheapest route. I mentioned to him doing a concrete area that would run over would probably be the best, but like I said, it's gonna be a whole lot more money to do that. I guess I would like to make a motion that we would authorize Frosty to do that, or authorize Gary to go in and do the oversized rock and fix that up with the natural drainage, with the oversized rock and the gravel.
You made that into a motion?
Yes.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion on that?
I guess I would like to see us put it off and have Gary handle it. Because it isn't gonna get done in the next 2
No.
weeks anyway.
I think what they're probably getting at is telling Gary that he has the go-ahead to go ahead and do that.
I would guess Gary would know that, but I would guess Gary would probably do it on his own without coming to us and asking for permission. That's what the highway superintendent does. I think there's more to it than just hauling some rock up and up on our road. I think you gotta document some of that stuff. Am I right, Penny?
Yes.
It goes into the state and stuff.
Well, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay.
Nay.
Motion passed. Thanks, Lyle.
Is that
Yep.
basically the only spot in the road that you're talking about down there, is there other spots?
Well, what happens until it gets low enough, it backs water up further to the east. But that's really, if that's low enough, then that solves a lot of the problems to the east. There's some soft spots in the roads further to the east that, I agree with Jim, and Gary, when they're down there, when they're putting gravel on, he'll see those places and he'll address those. But this is a pretty major spot that needs to be, we need to do something. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Lyle.
Thanks, Lyle.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Lyle.
Item 27, discussion regarding leachate pond discharge.
Our leachate pond filled up out at the landfill, which has never happened before. So we had to discharge it. The state came out and they told us that we needed to discharge it right now and told us how to do it. So we did complete that on Saturday. We have a cell that has a bunch of leachate in it that we need to get run into the leachate pond. They gave us a deadline of June 14th on that, so we're in the process of working on that right now. We also received a quote from Wink Engineering for repairs. We have a slope failure, we have a culvert collapse that runs our storm water to the pond. And the new cell that we put out there is, it's getting a lot of leachate and causing a lot of problems, so we're looking at ways we can minimize it. So the total cost for all three would be $19,300.
I'll just comment a little bit on that. The slope failure, that all happened on that last rain that we got. Where the there's a stormwater pond and then that leachate pond. On the south side of that bank, oh, it's probably about 60 foot started to slide down toward the bottom.
It shows it on this.
And then, guess that whoever put those, the stormwater pipes that come in, they come down that hill from up on top, all at the same time when that, we got that last rain, that one pipe to the east, it says existing stormwater pipe, that one just dropped probably, I'm gonna say 4 feet. And I bet it was the week before, one of the guys from the landfill, he said, you probably should clean this out at the bottom. So I walked right there the week before, and like I said, that pipe just dropped. And then that slide area was all in that last rain that we had. So that's what that's about. But the other stuff they wanna do, it's in that new cell that got dug. Because I suppose it was a month and a half, not quite, when the state guy was there, that had washed, when we had all that water this spring, it had washed that, where stormwater set on top, so he had me put a pipe in to take the water, the stormwater, around the top. Not way top, but on the next level. And that was all from the guy from the state that wanted it done. Anyhow, there's something we need to do with that pond down there. It's so huge.
I mean, with the cell.
So. Yes.
So Becky, the three areas here, the slope failure repair, the storm pipe repair, all of the total is that 19.3, to have all of those three areas fixed by this company, is that right?
That's the design meetings and drawings. That's their cost.
Them stormwater pipes, I'm gonna guess that they are, oh heck, I don't know, 250 feet long, I bet, coming off that hill. Just,
Okay, so 19,000 for the design work. Who's gonna actually do the work then?
Well, that would depend on the amounts, if we have to bid it, or
So we would still have to have somebody else come in on top of this to complete the work.
There was also a suggestion with that stormwater pipe, to pull the pipe out and pack the trench full of riprap to dissipate the energy of the stormwater before it reaches the pond. I don't know if that would be a better idea, because replacing that pipe is gonna be difficult.
We've never been out there and looked, I guess, I truthfully never had looked at them, but the pipes are almost exposed, the culverts.
They are exposed.
Well, the one wasn't quite, but I mean, a lot of it is all exposed, so. You'd almost think it should be able to be done a little different without putting those pipes back in, unless you put plastic back in that's gonna last. The culvert ain't gonna last.
Culvert's all rusted out.
So what's the commission feel like doing here?
I would guess we're gonna have to do something. And I would guess that would be a start.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposal from Wink.
Okay, got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
I'll second.
Got a second, any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay, motion passed. Discussion regarding weed and pest meeting.
Weed and Pest Board had a meeting. There was discussion about a GPS system from Raven. The Raven CR7. It comes from Benco Products. The cost of the system is $2,200. The best benefit out of this, it would track what has been sprayed, the date and time it was sprayed, and what chemical it was sprayed. And there's also a weather flow option to track the weather while you're spraying it at that exact time for an additional $80. Just to protect us, this would track everything and you could see exactly wherever Dave has been out to spray. And if there's ever a question about drifting or anything, we would be protected, or to show what the weather is, the wind direction, if there's any spray issues, drifting issues. This would basically an insurance policy to protect us. For $2,200, I think it's a great deal. The board voted on it. It was a unanimous vote to put it in the budget. But actually, he does have it in his budget for this year to go ahead and get this. So, with your approval, they'll get it coming. And yes, it's only $2,200, and he's got enough in there to pay for it. The other big issue that was discussed was the pickup. Dave says that if he's got 400 gallons of water in that pickup, the fastest he can possibly drive that thing anywhere is 45 miles an hour. I think it's more than time that we take a look at replacing this pickup. If we go on the state bid, there is a pickup that we can get. It's a brand new pickup. It's a Ford F-350 1-ton with duals. The price of that is $31,500. double check that, he sent me a text on it. But, I'm sure that's what it is.
But then, the bed and everything would have to be changed, correct?
Yep, yeah, I'm getting to that. Here it is right here. Okay, 31.5 for the pickup, it's a F-350 dual rear wheel, 4x4. Comes from the state bid from Lamb Motor Company. That comes with no box at all. And then for 4,000, we get a flatbed installed on it. And then we'd have to take it to Rapid City to have our sprayer unit taken out and mounted onto the flatbed, the tanks and pumps and everything. And I'm not sure what that cost is gonna be yet. So, the recommendation was made to the board, and they said they agreed with it. If the commission, they were doing our budget, that we put this on the budget for next year to pay for the pickup and flatbed and the swap out, put it in the budget, so in January, we could get the pickup. These prices are good through September 1st, so we could technically order it by September 1st. The prices will not change. After, I think it's the 15th of September, the prices will probably go up. This way, we could get it ordered, put it in the budget, pay for it on January 2nd, and pick it up January 2nd. And take it down to Rapid City and have it all swapped out and have it ready for next year. Dave knows he's gonna have to put up with this pickup that we got now for spring this year, but looking forward, next year, we'd have a new pickup. So that was the board's recommendation, is come budget time, that this gets all put on the budget for next year.
What's the commission feel about this?
I would say, you guys put it in the budget. As far as the GPS deal, that seems like a really good buy for what they have talked about over the last 4 or 5. We've offered, or we've authorized our weed person to buy at least 2 other ones at a lot more money. And I don't know why we haven't got them. I thought
we authorized it for sure last year.
Yeah, I thought Jake had it bought and put in.
As far as I know, there's nothing in yet.
No.
Does that require a computer system to get the data off of? Because he does not have one.
I think it goes straight to the cloud. So pretty much any computer could pick it up.
Has he got a smartphone? You
Yeah,
can send it to that.
Yeah, you can send it to a phone.
Somebody can. Not me, but somebody could.
I mean, from what it sounded like, we could then or tie it into our county's website, so anybody could see what has already been sprayed or whatever. But for $2,200, that'd be the cheapest insurance policy we could get.
I would agree. Some of them were up over 10,000 that we looked at. Shannon was, I was thinking like 4,500 is what Jake found.
This is $2,200 for that, and $80 for the weather flow option that tracks the weather and ties that straight into all the other data.
I I personally think it'd be money well spent.
So
And
basically,
they've got it in their budget already, don't they?
Yeah.
Kevin, what you're asking for right now is $22.80 to buy that,
Well, he's got a budget to buy it now anyway.
and then the other, we just put it in your
The other,
budget.
we would just put it in the budget for next year.
Hmm. Anybody else have anything on this?
Need a motion to put that in there or not, or just
I don't think so.
don't have to for,
Nope. Anybody else have anything else?
I think it's about time we get a new pickup. For 31.5 with dualies on it. The dualies is gonna help more than anything.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't have put a transmission in it last time.
No.
Or take it to the junkyard. Anything else on this? And we'll move on to old business. Yes.
Did you guys want me to get a additional quote from Wink on not replacing the culvert?
As a second option, I think it'd be good.
We like doing the rock.
Mhm.
Yeah. I would think that would be a good idea. If there's another option out there.
You heard anything from Clark on 319 or Sitka?
Jamie sent a letter and I haven't heard a word.
Yeah, basically in the letter, we just suggested what we thought would resolve the issue, but we haven't heard anything from either one.
I don't think, over at Sitka, they was out there one day, but they just tamped some dirt around the edges of it, but
They haven't contacted me. I thought if they were gonna contact, I thought it would be Jamie.
Are you talking about the Sitka Road or the 319?
both of them.
We didn't send him a letter saying anything about the Sitka Road culvert. We just discussed the two approaches that were of concern on junction out here
On 319.
with regard to Selby Oil.
But I had talked to Mike previously already about that, knowing that there's an issue there. He hasn't contacted on either one.
We need to get something done with that.
We need to draft a letter about the disabled culvert.
I do know our newly hired highway superintendent is well versed. I would guess he will handle that issue because I visited with him about it, or he brought it up.
No doubt it's gotta get done about it.
I no doubt somebody screwed up somewhere, and I'm guessing it. I don't know, but I would guess it's engineers that. Because there should be no reason we should have to backfill each side of that culvert 4 times because it's settling.
Yeah, there's no reason the water's going under it instead of.
You're absolutely right. They're not designed to do that. So, anyway, our highway superintendent will take care of that problem.
Any other old business?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
may I address the board?
Yes.
I guess I'd like to ask the question why the board refuses to address any of the questions that I have. When I was on the agenda, I had several questions, but the board has been reluctant to answer those.
It's 17.
No, today.
They can answer however they want to, I guess. I mean, I don't speak for anybody else. I don't know what you're asking.
Would you like me to repeat again what I addressed the board on? The board didn't hear what I had to say when I was,
Yeah, we heard you.
and you don't care.
What specific questions do you have?
Okay, I would like to know about the authorization for the signature on the Butler contract.
Okay, we discussed that at the meeting and why we had to get it done when we did.
Why you did it, yes, but who authorized the auditor to sign
I did.
at a board meeting?
No, we explained that to you exactly how that was done. Now that we didn't do it in the meeting, I mean, I guess I'm not sure why that it's the end of the world.
Because county business is being conducted outside of the board meetings.
I guess that is your opinion, I guess. I just don't really think that that's how it was really handled. You might, in your mind, you might think it was.
So you did the extended warranty at a board meeting and approved it at a board meeting?
I felt it was very sufficient to call the board members and talk to them. That's exactly how I did it.
I know, but that's not doing it in a board meeting. County business is supposed to be conducted at a board meeting. You could have called a special meeting had it had to be done right away. That option wasn't used. And why not?
That's exactly what I did.
So as chairperson, you just take it upon yourself to do it then?
No, it was just that it needed to be done exactly at that moment.
So that's how we can assume that other county business will be done if it needs to be done at that moment and will be carried out at a board meeting?
I don't think there ever has been anything that had to be done at the exact moment. When the hours were up, I mean, I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, Chad very much said exactly how that went. If we had went over on them hours, exactly what that would have cost the county. So I don't believe it was trying to jeopardize the county in any way. It was to try to not spend a bunch of money by doing it that way.
It was already in the budget for it to be replaced. So it, like I said, he gave a good presentation. That should have been a presentation at a meeting for the board to decide if they wanted to extend the warranty further or things that was already in the budget to replace it. I guess I'm just questioning because the process that was done was not done at a board meeting. And that's how county business is supposed to be done.
That's how it was handled. We're gonna move on.
Okay, my other question is on the agenda. So you're not gonna allow people to speak on items that are listed on the agenda. I would like a yes or no answer so that I know for future meetings.
Am I going to?
Are you going to allow the public here to ask questions on an agenda item?
We already went through that, Linda.
I would like your answer today. Are you going to do it, yes or no?
Well, yes, it is. We're given the 5 minutes at open forum.
No, not during open forum. I'm talking about when the item is being discussed on the agenda. As you go through each agenda item, are you going to allow people from the public to address the board during discussion?
Yes.
I feel like we're getting off track here, right? I mean, to me, the business of the county is the commissioner's job and duty. When you want to approach the commission, if you need to question or have a concern, you should talk to your commissioners individually, call them on the phone and discuss that. I feel that the business that's being held and done here is the job of the commissioners. And if we have to have input by outside people during that discussion, then I think that is the option that we have to look at. But for us to sit here and have everybody discuss an opinion on a particular business question, I don't think that's right.
Yes, Jamie.
Right now, your position is you do not allow anyone to speak on agenda items. That's what you guys decided last time. You need to be uniform on that. You can't pick and choose. That's the problem that we've created here is you gotta be uniform. Just like you were saying, you can't pick and choose. You need to either say, we're not gonna allow input from the audience, or we are. Right now, at 2 meetings ago, you said we are not gonna allow input from the audience with regard to the agenda items. And we violated that today. Again, so that's again why we have these problems, because we're not following our rules.
Then the answer is gonna be no. Then we're not going to. You'll have the open meeting, the public forum, and that's where you'll have your 5 minutes.
Okay? Then my next question is, I asked to be put on the agenda today and my name was on there. But I did not know until the meeting was called to order if I was going to be left on there or I was going to be removed. Is that how it's going to continue to be? Because you can add or delete on the agenda?
That's how, whatever's gonna be on there is just how it is. That's just how the protocol is on that. We're gonna adopt the agenda, and that's how it's gonna be, whether or not somebody wants to add, if one of the commissioners want to add something or delete something, it's up to them. It'll be done that day.
Okay, so my name appears on the agenda. Was it because I requested it or was it because a commissioner requested it?
The commissioner did request it.
Yes, but was it because I had requested it or because the commissioner did?
Because both of you did.
So if my name appears on the agenda, or anybody that calls in to be on the agenda, and it appears on the agenda when it's published, that means it stays on there, or can you delete it?
That's what I just said a second ago, that at the beginning of the meeting, when the meeting starts, when I ask for that, that's when they're gonna decide. You can't decide now what's gonna stay on the agenda, what's gonna come out. It's what's gonna happen that day, Linda.
Well,
Two-thirds of it, yes,
I
Jim.
think for clarity purposes, basically, the chair can decide what goes on the agenda. Again, it's not a state law, it's under Robert's Rules of Order, which is what we have elected to follow. At the beginning of the meeting, if a person has been allowed to be put on by the chair, again, there can be another vote right at the beginning of the meeting to remove that person or issue or whatever, or add something to that. So it's a multi-step process. So even if you're put on the agenda, you may be removed right at the beginning of the meeting. That's an option that's available.
okay, that's what I would like to have been
Yes.
clarified.
Kevin.
I would like to, if you're gonna get put on the agenda, I would like on there what you're gonna be talking about.
I did provide that information.
I had no idea what all that the agenda says is Linda.
I provided it to the auditor's office.
The chair advised me just to put Linda Beeman on there.
Yes.
If we were to remove somebody or remove something off or add something onto the agenda, it is going to be a motion made, seconded, and a 2/3 majority have to approve it.
Okay, that's fine.
So,
I had asked Mr. Schilling, he said it was on the agenda, that it was on there, but I needed to have it clarified if it, just because it's on there, I know it can come off with a 2/3 vote, but I just want it clarified that yes, it can be removed.
Yes.
Okay. So if I were to ask to be put on the agenda, one of my agenda items was county assistant. Can that be put down there when that discussion is happening? Or will it be just under me at the beginning of the meeting?
Didn't put that on there because it was already gonna be discussed, the county assistant. That's why I didn't put it on there for you, because it was already gonna be discussed.
I know, but I asked to be put on the agenda so I could speak during that time, because you're not allowing the public to speak when you have your agenda items on here. That's why I asked to be put on for the county assistant. So when I present my agenda items, they will just be at the beginning of the meeting and not during the meeting when those items are discussed,
That's when you're gonna be put on.
at the beginning.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
It's the same thing. I'll go back to it again. It all depends upon what the commission wants to do. So,
So when will the commission decide this? At the beginning of the meeting?
that's exactly when it's gonna be decided, exactly when it's approval of the agenda. if it's gonna stay. I put it on there, that's fine. That's not saying it's gonna stay. That's what I'm trying to say.
I'm not questioning whether it has to stay on there or not, I'm just questioning the process that you're going to use. So you're gonna, if a person from the public comes in, requests to be put on the agenda. I did list 2 items for today. One of them was county assistant. I guess I would like to be put on when the county assistant was being discussed, so if I had questions, I could ask him at that time. Otherwise, as a public person sitting here, I'm not allowed to ask any questions. That's why I'd like to be put on there when the county assistant was being discussed. I guess I can use it for instance, Lyle Perman came in today and had his discussion. He wasn't listed just on the agenda, he was listed under the highway department. Is there a difference in that?
I think we're gonna just move on right now. That's what we're gonna do.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Just a comment. Maybe Linda, and I don't know, none of us are proficient in Robert's Rules of Order. I'll be the first to admit that. But that's what we're trying to follow. To me, maybe look at Robert's Rules of Order and see how they do that. Because nobody has, for the most part, and you look at Robert's Rules of Order, from what I understand, they really don't have the ability to come in and talk to as a commission on any individual point without the permission from the commission. So I guess maybe just look into that idea, look at Robert's Rules of Order and see how that works.
Yes, Jamie.
Basically, I think what Mrs. Beeman is saying is that she has multiple issues that she wants to discuss before the commission. If the chair decides to only put her down as her name and not specific items, how does she know that her items are to be addressed? Again, that goes back to, we need to decide what we're gonna do on that. Because right now, if her name is put on the agenda and there is no item to address, technically, she shouldn't be addressing anything. And also, if she is not allowed to participate in the discussion when the issue comes up, that's why she wants to know why she should be put under each specific issue, because technically, we are not allowing anyone to address from the audience issues that are in front of the commission on the agenda, even though we violated the rule today.
Anything else? Any other new business?
Move for adjournment.
We got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
Second.
A second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.